Welcome to the Flourish.Academy podcast. My name is Heather Lautinen, and I'm joined by my good friend and co-host, Mara Chick. We believe everyone can be successful in any endeavor they pursue, whether it's personal or professional. By constantly nourishing your mind reading books, you can impart wisdom and tactics into your life and business. In this podcast, we will be discussing the books that have impacted us and share actionable strategies at the end of each episode to help you succeed.
So as you know, you're going to sit right back, relax, and we're going to do all the reading so that you don't have to.
Everyone's busy.
I know.
And not everyone loves to read like us.
Let us spend all of our time reading for you
Right.
because, well, we already read enough as it is. Okay, so today I think we're going to be able to wrap up our discussion on Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy, 21 Great Ways to Stop Procrastinating and Get More Done in Less Time.
And we want to make a special note, once again, that there are 3 editions of this book. So if we reference a page or chapter that you don't have, that's why.
We just realized in Heather's book that one of the chapters is not even numbered.
It is not numbered, or there's another one missing. And it's
we
fun.
might be all over the place in this episode, so stay tuned. You never know what we're going to get into.
Let's just say we're heading towards the end of the book.
Towards the end of the book.
Chapters
we'll get through
12 and on.
12. 12? Yes, 12 and on.
12 and on.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
All right. So Brian says from the book, successful people are invariably those who have taken the time to identify what they do well and most enjoy. They know what they do really makes a difference in their work, and they then concentrate on that task or area of activity exclusively. You should always focus your best energies and abilities on starting and completing those tasks that your unique talents and abilities enable you to do well and that make a significant contribution. You cannot do everything, but you can do those few things in which you excel, the few things that can really make a difference. We talked about this in a previous episode, but if you're not good at something, nor do you like it, why in the name of Mike would you do it? Outsource it.
Well, yeah, and we just talked about outsourcing in the last episode, and it's awesome.
Pay someone to do it.
Pay someone to do it. It frees up so much more of your time, less of a headache.
And he also says, look into yourself. Successful people always begin with the analysis of constraints by asking the question, what is it in me that is holding me back? They accept complete responsibility for their lives and look to themselves for both the cause and the cure of their problems.
And he continues in saying, in your own life, you must have the honesty to look deeply into yourself for the limiting factor or limiting skill that sets the speed at which you achieve your personal goals. Keep asking, what sets the speed at which I get the results I want? Do you feel like you have limiting factors or limiting skills? I think we do.
For sure.
But we learn, like when we identify it, we go learn it or we outsource it. Do you know what?
Yeah, or like you figure out a way around it. We've talked about this. I said, well, we know, if you don't know, then you will know now. Mara is an excellent writer. She writes very, very well. It's her gift. So when we work together, of course, she does all the writing. But I have my own business where I don't have Mara to write for me. So I thought I could either hire a copywriter or a ghostwriter, or I could figure out a way to circumnavigate my lack of skill. Okay, I could learn it. I could take some classes and improve for sure. But I just started doing more video. That was my way of getting around that.
Well, I'm available for hire at $10,000 a blog post.
Got it.
Is that agreeable terms?
Yeah.
Okay.
That seems very reasonable.
That is not reasonable.
Right.
Okay. So from the book, this section kind of really got to me. See yourself as a role model. Raise the bar on yourself. The standards you set for your own work and behavior should be higher than anyone else could set for you. And I think that is indicative of both of us. Like we are going to look for ourselves to be better and higher and higher. Go ahead. Say you're saying you love it.
Raise your standards. I love it. The reason I say it like that is because that's something very common from Tony Robbins. In a lot of his talks, you will hear him yelling that that's all it takes is to raise your standards. You are settling for too little, for too low of a bar. Just raise your standards. Expect more from yourself. Expect more from your children, from your family, from what you contribute to society, for how you dress, how you look. Raise your standards. Take pride in what you do. I think this is huge.
Mm-hmm. I think we both feel this way. Like was there anything else you wanted to touch on in that section?
That was my favorite. He talks about leading the field
Yes.
and making sure you raise the bar for yourself. What could you be doing better? And chances are there are several things you could be doing better. And it improves your self-esteem, which he says is the reputation you have with yourself. You build up or pull down your reputation with yourself with everything you do or fail to do. That's where self-esteem comes from. So I know you work with a lot of women, as do I, that struggle with self-esteem, and this is where it comes from.
You know, one of the things, you know, as I'm working towards becoming a self-love life coach, there's like these different branches of self-love, and one of them is self-esteem, and that's one of the hardest areas for women to get through, is just to like feel good about themselves and like view themselves as like someone who's above the average, you know what I mean? But we all can be above average.
For sure.
I
And
mean,
it's just raising your own standards.
Yeah,
So
like-
I can't wait as you get this certification. I can't wait to see how you empower and help these women. It's going to be phenomenal. And I feel like you are going to be the person to crack that case. It's so hard. You're right. Because it's deep.
yeah.
There's a lot to it.
And I think a lot of it is we don't want to come across as conceited or narcissistic, but like we have to be able to praise ourselves for the things that we can do, because you and I hold ourselves to such high standards. It's like, wow, look what we did. Like, and we're okay with that. I can be okay and say like, hey,
Own it.
I'm pretty darn good at
Yeah.
that.
Okay, so as you do that with your clients currently, do you think that you will have a future option where you work online with people? Because I can
Yeah.
see you being in very high demand for this, for real.
I do. I see eventually it coming out to be like online workshops and one-on-one mentoring and helping people with each like area of their life. I really can see my future. We talked in the last episode about like, where do you see yourself in 10 years? Like, I know where I see myself in 10 years. So I'm
Helping
excited
women,
for it. Yeah.
Yeah, and they are too. They just
Yeah.
don't know it
They
yet.
don't know it yet.
Yeah. Right. Oh, listen to this on in my chapter 15. Maximize your personal powers. Gather in your resources. Rally all your faculties. Marshal all your energies. Focus all your capacities upon mastery of at least one field of endeavor. Get really good at something. Be an expert in some field. Presumably it's the field that you
That
operate
you're
in.
in.
Right. Yeah. But then he also talks about, I love this because he says, one of the most important requirements for being happy and productive is for you to guard and nurture your energy levels at all times. And I wrote sleep. Like you need to protect your
What's that?
sleep.
I don't know what
You
sleep
need to make
is
sure
anymore.
you guard and nurturing your energy goes back to something you said previously, which is your ability to say no to things that are not contributing to your future vision. And that's what that is. Am I being the best steward of my energy right now? How can I guard my energy so that it's hyper focused towards my future, not towards incidental things, the trivial many.
Yes. So there's one section he talks about optimism and developing a positive mental attitude. So I think you're very optimistic. I'm very optimistic as well. So I just want to read some of the things he has to say about
Right.
optimists. So here we go from the book. Optimism is the most important quality you can develop for personal and professional success and happiness. Optimistic people seem to be more effective in almost every area of life. Optimists look for the good in every situation. Optimists always seek the valuable lesson in every setback or difficulty. Optimists always look for the solution to every problem. And optimists think and talk continually about their goals. Like, this is us to a T.
I love it. Do you have any examples of where you were in a situation that maybe was not good and you found good in it?
Well, that's a good question.
Thank you. Because I wrote in my book, this is one of my favorite sections as well.
Yes.
I wrote a quote that I heard from Michael Hyatt. I think he said his wife says this. Whenever something doesn't go right, she would always say, okay, what does this make possible? Okay, so I think they were talking about like a flight being delayed or something of that nature, or you're held over for an extra day somewhere. And she would say, okay, well, what does this make possible? So last year we surprised the kids with a trip to Cedar Point because they love amusement parks. And we were super excited. We drove there. We had the hotel. We were going to go in the evening, and then we had tickets for the next day. We got there, and there was some weather, like some pop-up thunderstorms, and we didn't think anything of it. And then we heard that there was a microburst, and the causeway to get to Cedar Point was closed. Never in the history of Cedar Point has it closed. and it was closed when we got there. And it was mayhem, electrical wires everywhere. And the kids were so disappointed because they were so excited like 2 hours prior and then so disappointed. So we checked into our hotel and I said to them, what does this make possible? This makes something else possible. We just need to figure out what it is, because the concern was that Cedar Point would not open the next day either, and it didn't. So we went to Put in Bay and toured around and did some fun things, and then we went back to Cedar Point at another time. So what did it make possible? 2 trips instead of 1. Right.
I like that. I'd rather take 2 trips
good.
Instead of 1.
Right. Do you have anything?
Not that anything that pops into my mind, but I always look at every situation as like, what am I going to learn from this? You know, and we even talked when I had like my back issues last year. I'm like, okay, well, I have to take 6 weeks off. Well, I'm going to learn how to keep my momentum going.
Right.
In not being able to like work, and I'm not sharing my photos or anything for like 6 weeks. How much, like, I learned, like, I'm like, okay, this is a skill I have to learn. Good. It was good that happened. It was good that happened. I mean, I would not want to go through it, but I learned a lot about myself through that whole ordeal. Like that, you know,
thyself.
I am important. Like as much as I preached to other women, you have to take care of yourself. Like I realized it was important for me too. And I learned how to keep momentum even when you have to take 6 weeks off.
And what a great lesson. And I know nobody would choose that situation, of course, but you did find the good and you learned something, which means now, don't you feel better equipped in case some other
in case that happens again?
Yeah, for instance. Or anything else. If anything else came up, you're now better equipped to handle your business in downtime. And I think that's a good lesson.
Yeah, I think, you know, we are very good at controlling our thoughts and making sure that we're, like, because I always say to people, your thoughts are either taking you to a positive place or a negative place. So which way do you want to go? I mean,
all the time,
every
day, every minute
like
of every
you
day.
have a choice.
Yep.
And make that choice.
Yep.
Oof.
That
Make
was
the
very
right
good.
choice.
Good.
That's right. Good.
I like this part where he talks about developing a sense of urgency. Napoleon Hill says, do not wait. The time will never be just right. Start where you stand and work with whatever tools you may have at your command, and better tools will be found as you go along. Do something, do anything, but develop a sense of urgency. So I spoke in a previous episode where I said, I will never put off for tomorrow what I can do today. Never. Because I have a sense of incredible urgency about everything. Okay, not to the point where I put unnecessary stress or anxiety on myself. Not like that, but just I want to work quickly to get things done because I know I'm going to make mistakes. And if I make the mistakes quicker, then I'll get to the answer sooner. So hurry up.
And screw up so you can get to the answer sooner.
Basically, yeah.
Okay, that sounds great, Heather. Great advice. I'm going to screw up quicker.
Well, when he says, when you develop a sense of urgency in everything, you don't procrastinate as much. You don't, because you're just hurry, get it done.
Yeah. He says, it is an impatience that motivates you to keep going and keep going. A sense of urgency feels much like racing against yourself. So I actually do this when I'm editing photos and I'm like, okay, I cannot edit one more photo, but I'll play a game with myself.
Oh.
Like I'll say, I want to be at photo 70 by 1:15.
Oh, funny. Yeah.
So I play a game with myself, and so it's like I have I beat it. Yeah.
I won.
I deserve a cupcake or whatever.
I'm winning.
I'm winning. A micro win, okay? I'm winning the race.
I think that's really smart.
So I race myself.
Like, and if you do that a couple of times, the next you know, you're done editing.
Yeah, I'm done editing, and then it's like, oh, okay,
that's really
great.
smart.
So,
Do it now. Back to work, he says. Do it now. Get back to work. I actually say that to myself in my head. I'm like, back to work, back to work. Brian Tracy says, do it now. Hurry, go.
Go. Brian is in your head.
Yeah, he is. He did get in my head.
Okay, and so he talks in a couple chapters about technology. One is called Technology is a Terrible Master, and then the next one's called Technology is a Wonderful Servant. Oh, okay, Brian.
Which is it? And how do we manage it?
But when he talks about technology being a terrible master, I think he's more about the addictions that we get sucked into with our cell phones and stuff. So he says here in the book, for you to stay calm, clear-headed, and capable of performing at your best, detach on a regular basis from the technology that overwhelms you. Okay? I have started the process to break up with my cell phone.
Really?
Yeah. I read a book on how to break up with your phone.
Okay, give us some examples. What are you doing?
So, one, I turned off all notifications except for text messages and Voxer. So, I don't get email notifications. I don't get Facebook Messenger, Instagram. None of those come up. And you know what happens? I'm not checking my phone because I know there's going to be nothing displayed on the front. So, I'm not racing to my phone all the time. I set off hours, so it's not in the bedroom at night. I don't use it as my alarm clock. Get an alarm clock.
Right.
Okay.
Agreed.
And I downloaded this tracker that actually tracks how much time you spend on your phone.
And what did you find out?
And, when you think you pick it up and you check for a couple minutes and then you put it down, well, try doing that 30 times a day. And next thing you know, you've been on your phone 5 hours in one day.
Do you happen to know the name of that off the top of your head? I think
I can look it up because actually it shouldn't be here, but my phone is right here next to me.
I think
it's called Moment.
Moment. I've heard of this.
So that was eye-opening for me. I'm like, I really need to break up with my phone. So yeah, it's been kind of life-changing for me we want that satisfaction of likes and hearts and it doesn't mean anything. So set something, post it, and then just go about your life.
I think that's brilliant. We should all do that. That should be a challenge. Have you instituted a tech-free day or Sabbath in your week?
I do. Yeah, I try to Sundays be a little tech-free, unless I'm, working on business stuff. But yeah, I just, when the emails would come in, I'd be like, oh my gosh, gotta answer that right away. And if it waits 12 hours, it waits 12 hours. I mean, it's
usually not an emergency.
I'm not going to lose a client over not answering their email back in 5 minutes. Okay. Right. So yeah, break up with the phone. So that's what he's talking about when he says technology is a terrible master, but it can be a wonderful servant, but you have to discipline yourself. The purpose of technology is to make your life smoother and easier, not to create complexity, confusion, and stress.
So if tech is causing you stress, you need to step away.
And he says when you're looking through social media or something, say to yourself, what's important here? And I get sucked into, I'm laying in bed and I'm looking and I'm like, in 10 minutes later, I'm like, what am I even reading? Something about the Golden Girls that I love the Golden Girls, but it's something about 30 things you didn't know about the Golden Girls. And I'm like, how in the hell did I get here?
And why? What am I doing staying
What
here?
is so important here? So then I immediately exit out and
or did you ever think to yourself, I've done this where I've had a task that I need to do in Facebook, for instance. I need to go create that event for something for the business that's coming up. I'll go into Facebook to do that. I'll get so distracted by something and then I'll close Facebook and oh my gosh, I forgot to create the event. I did not even do
what you wanted to do.
Right. That's a problem.
It's a problem. It's so distracting. And this is why I say, we were talking about some social media strategies in our mastermind. And I said, I never really go to my home screen. I have bookmarks for to go to my business page, to go to my self-love group, so that I'm not getting sucked into that newsfeed stuff.
You don't even see it.
I don't want to see it.
That's actually a really good strategy.
Yeah. And I block a lot of pages that I like, but I don't want to see them in my feed. I block, friends that have only negative things to say because I ultimately have control over what's put in front of me, right? I can say yes or no. So I want to make sure that what's being put in front of me is edifying to my brain. That's your word.
That is my favorite word. He also talks about creating large chunks of time. Nothing can add more power to your life than concentrating all of your energies on a limited set of targets. So do you do time blocking where you set aside, an hour, 3 hours, and you say, I am going to work on editing's an easy one. Maybe a marketing strategy or something a guide that you need to put together. Do you time block?
I have to. That's the only way I get things done. And I remember even back in my corporate days on my calendar, so people wouldn't send me meetings, I would block out every day from 1 to 2:30 was this task. And I would have it in my calendar every day so no one could block that out. And that was my only focus for that hour and a half. And I tell you what, I got more done in that hour and a half than I did
all day.
All day, because people were inviting me to nonsense meetings. Do you chunk time?
I absolutely time block because multitasking is a lie. Switch tasking will distract you. So I say I'm going to do this task sometimes it's 15 minutes on a task. Sometimes it's 3 hours. It depends on how big the task is. But I definitely try to time block. And when I don't, when I get lazy and I don't, guess what happens? I'm unproductive because I get distracted by, oh, I'm going to work on this. No, I'll work on this and a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And I know better. And I catch myself and I ask myself Brian Tracy questions like,
Yes.
is this important? Who would work this way? Stop being a loser.
Stop.
Like I'm having fun.
You're
but
a loser.
You're a loser. Do something that matters.
Okay, so I think the last thing for me that I wanted to touch on in this book, and I don't know if you have anything else you wanted to touch on, but like he talks here about focusing your attention, and a lot of what we've talked about previously has kind of hit on this, but he says focused attention is the key to high performance. The attraction of distraction, the lure of electronic and other interruptions leads to diffused attention, a wandering mind, a lack of focus, and ultimately underachievement and failure.
Loser.
Heather interpreted that as loser.
And I don't want to be a loser.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
What a great book.
This is a great book. So Heather.
Yes.
And at the end of the book, he does summarize like all of
putting it
these.
together.
Yeah, and this is a great quick read for you if you just want to dive in. There were some chapters that we didn't even really discuss. So, as we end this episode, do you want to give everyone their strategy? What's one strategy?
Okay, one strategy that I took away from this is clarity is key. Clarity is number one. What is it you want? Nothing else can be done until you understand what it is you are focused on for your bigger goal or vision. Clarity. You have to know yourself. What is your business about? How do you want your personal life to look? All of the goals in the world won't matter unless they are directed towards a clear vision. You must define what it is you want, and then the tasks sort of become easy. And then once you do define what it is you want, figure out what the hard things are about that and do those first.
Mm-hmm. I would say for this book, like my main strategy for everyone is write stuff down, work from lists, and create subtasks for everything that you come up with, because you don't realize how much is involved in one thing until you actually start to think about it and write it down, and you realize like, oh, I got to move this up, and you can sequence things. So really, clarity, work from lists, write it down, and you guys can really achieve anything at that point. So, Heather?
Yes.
It's time to end this episode. You're going to tell everybody, and this book, you're going to tell everyone how they can support our podcast.
Well, they should, first of all, subscribe and leave a review. Hello, that's the best thing.
Hi, we're here.
Please,
need to know you're there.
If you're enjoying the free content.
It's free.
You can leave us a review and share it with your friends. It could be really impactful. You never know. You're sharing it might change a life.
Yeah, that's pretty powerful.
That is very powerful. So make sure you like, share, leave a review. And also, if you would like to watch this on video, you can do so at Flourish.Academy.tv. But if you would like to read Mara's strategies and show notes, which are excellent.
Because I'm a writer.
She's a writer. You should go to Flourish.Academy to find those. And if you'd like to purchase this book or any book that we discuss, please use our Amazon affiliate link. It helps to offset some of the costs associated with doing a free podcast.
Well,
do you know a podcast isn't free?
It's not, we're negative money.
It costs us money.
Do you want to, quickly,
Yes.
You have a pricing course out there.
I have a pricing course for photographers, pricing for profitability. Check that out. And also, we're about to open our next enrollment for our mastermind. It's on the website.
It's on the website.
Check
Find
it
out
out.
all the details. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.